So let's start with the AVP qualifier. Huge congrats to Megan Rice and Corinne Quiggle. I was surprised to see them playing together, to be honest. Now that I'm moving here in Tallahassee, I don't really keep up with all the comings and goings of partnerships. Corinne played really well with Chloe Lorene on the Beach Pro Tour. And Megan hasn't really shown a ton of interest in playing international, so it might just be one of those partnerships where you want to go international with one person, you're going to stay local with another. It's working out for Corinne. Her and Chloe have played well in the BPT, and now her and Megan, they just qualified, punched their tickets to the AVP League on back-to-back aces from Megan J. Rice. So this is the Megan Rice who played for LMU, who made the Hermosa Beach finals a couple years ago, and just 26 years old, and she's really only starting to scratch the surface of her potential. But they were playing a tremendous final against Devin Newberry and Jaden Whitmarsh, and they were up 14-12 in that final set. And Jaden and Devin, they side out 14-13. Devin makes a great pool dig, 14s. They end up actually flipping it and getting the lead. And then after a couple side outs, Megan says, screw it, let's just take a rip. Boom, 2 untouched aces for the win and a clincher. And so there are now 5 women's teams qualified for the AVP League 2025. It is Taryn Brasher, pardon me, and Kristen Nuss. They were wildcarded back onto the Austin Aces, although given Megan's propensity for aces, that would be a fitting team. But I think that'll stay with TKN. Melissa Mataparedes and Brandy Wilkerson, they were wildcarded back onto the Palm Beach Passion, and then you have Tony Rodriguez and Kylie DeBerg. Tony Rodriguez and Gina Urango, they're the defending champs for the San Diego Smash. Then you have Haley Harward and Kylie DeBerg. They are back with the Dallas Dream. And now you have Corinne and Megan. So there are your 5 teams. There are 2 events left. April 26th, another single elimination 16-team qualifier at Newland Street in Huntington Beach. And then there is the Big Granddaddy event, the Heritage event, which is also a single elimination event in Huntington Beach. And that's the second Saturday of May. So there are now 5 women's teams qualified. Currently in the driver's seat to qualify are Jaden and Devin. And I continue to be so impressed by them. They won that bronze medal at the Yucatan Challenge out of the qualifier, and they've just come back from the dead so many times. They were down 3-8 in the third set at one point in that challenge, came back and won, and they rallied back to get their bronze medal, and now they're making the finals. They had a nice little run, too, where they ended up beating Mariah Whalen and Jacinda Ramirez. Not a super surprise there, 7 beat the 10. But then they beat Kim Hildreth and welcome back after having a baby, Kelly Kolinsky. Congratulations to her and Bill for having a beautiful baby girl. Congratulations to Kelly for being healthy enough to play. They lost in 3 sets, and then they swept Savvy Simo and Abby Van Winkle after their heartbreaking not qualifying for the league a year ago. So Jaden and Devin in the driver's seat to qualify with 2 events left to play. And just as a reminder, how you qualify for the AVP League, you either made the playoffs last year, as 3 of those teams did, or you can get as 2 of those teams did, you can get wild carded as 2 more did, or you can take 2 out of your best 3 finishes from the single elimination qualifiers in Huntington and the Heritage event in Huntington, or you can just win, as Corinne and Megan did. And so you'll have a new winner on the 26th. You'll have a potentially new winner at the Heritage event, although I would say it's unlikely that you'll have another new winner. So it's likely the last 2 spots, I would say, are going to come down to points. And so Jaden and Devin in the driver's seat for that. Also Lexi Denneberg and Julia Scholes, they were the 1 seed. They took a 3rd place finish, as did Savvy and Abby. So those 3 teams in good shape to qualify. So Corinne and Megan, they will not be playing in the single elimination qualifier on the 26th. That will go to another team sort of off the quote-unquote reserve list, so they will then get their shot. But in reality, it'll be Kelly Cheng and Molly Shaw coming off the reserve list, so they took a bit of a chance. They skipped out on this qualifier. I don't agree with the AVP's decision not to give Kelly an injury sub for Sarah Hughes and let her and Molly be in the league. One, Kelly is one of the best players in the world. She's the defending world champion. She's the defending regular season champion with the New York Nitro, and Sarah Hughes, they were the best team in the regular season by far. Sarah's hurt. Molly, I don't want to say she's unproven, hasn't proven herself at the level that Sarah has, but still, it's Kelly Cheng and it's Molly Shaw. It's a really good team. They just took back-to-back 4th place finishes in Elite 16s. More on that in a second. And so they didn't give her an injury sub. So Molly and Kelly now just have 2 events to earn their way into the league. And while they'll be heavy favorites to qualify by winning either the single elimination in Huntington or just putting together 2 good events, anything can happen. And I think if the AVP, you're taking a chance of leaving Kelly Cheng out of it, which I think, to me, that's a mistake. And I am unabashedly rooting for them to make it, because I think the league is going to be 10x better with Kelly and Molly in it. And so that's going to make life more difficult for everyone back in the qualifier on the 26th. And if they don't win, that's going to make it more difficult for everyone in the Heritage event the second week of May. So even though Corinne and Megan are out of it, Kelly and Molly, they're going to come in. They'll be the 1 seed. And so the tournament will actually get stronger, even though the champs of this one are actually leaving. As for the women, that kind of sums up that part for the men. If anybody wants to look, this is what we got on the card today. We got Hagen Smith and Logan Webber. I would say that I'm a little bit, I'll admit it, I'm surprised by what we saw there. Hagen and Logan are good, but here you have James Shaw coming off a bronze medal at an Elite 16 and a stunner over Sweden. Now that sort of sets you up for, in football they call it trap games, where you have this emotional high and then the next weekend where you're against objectively lower level teams that you're expected to win, and then you don't. And instead it's Hagen and Logan who they didn't even lose a single set, which is hard to do in sets to 15, because you have a tough start. You take a 4-1 switch and then a 3-2 switch, and suddenly you're staring down the barrel of a 7-3 deficit and you're halfway through the set. And the set to 21, that's far from a death sentence. You can make the adjustments. Hagen and Logan never had to deal with it. Here's who they beat. They took down Tim Brewster, Ryan Ierna, no problem. They swept Troy Field and Theo Brunner, no problem. They swept Avery Drost and Wyatt Harrison, no problem. Then they swept another surprise team, so it was a 7 meeting the 5, and Sean Cook and Brian Miller. And so Hagen and Logan, they are into the AVP League. Huge congrats to them. The storyline for the men, to me, is just general surprise. I was surprised to see Logan and Hagen make it. All due respect, boys, I love you both. I was surprised to see them take down Troy and Theo. I was surprised that Avery and Wyatt were in the semifinals over Tim Baumgren and Paul Lottman. I was surprised that it wasn't James and Kame that they met in the finals. So surprises everywhere. And so Kame and James, it's not like they had a bad tournament. They made their ways to the semifinals, got upset in 3 by Sean Cook and Brian Miller. Sean, phenomenal player, wonderful entertainer. Brian Miller, just this sneaky talent down in San Diego. Really good blocker, funky arm swing, crazy jumpy. I hated playing him. We matched up all the time together. He was impossible to time because he had that crazy arm swing. He's got these short arms, and so it's like this really fast darts, and it's awkward and it's hard to stop, and he proved hard to stop. And so now, just like Jaden and Devin, Brian and Sean are now in the driver's seat of the AVP League as far as qualifying via points. Kame and James, decent shape, taking a 3rd. I would expect them to qualify. Avery and Wyatt, pretty good shape, taking a 3rd. However, it's not going to get much easier, as we have Phil Dahlhauser and Trevor Crabb. They were wild carded in. Hagen and Logan, they're now in. And then we have the defending champs, Chase Budinger and Miles Evans. They are back with the San Diego Smash. And then you have, who's the last team? Miles Partain and Andy Benish. They will be back with the Dallas Dream. So we have 5 teams now qualified for the men. And then you have a funky situation going on. So you got Evan Corey, who has been training with Tri-Born. It was a pretty exciting new partnership, and full bias for me. Tri-Born, one of my best friends. Evan Corey, I'll be a groomsman in his wedding in October. Also one of my best friends. I thought they'd be phenomenal. No one's a shoo-in into the league, but I thought that they'd be a strong pair. And so far they're 0-3 on the Beach Pro Tour, and then Tri had to pull out late with an injury. Evan picks up Thomas Hurst, who, credit to him, does great in a last-minute pinch hit opportunity, and they stun Alisson and Alvaro and didn't even need to go 3 in order to beat him. And so I don't know what Evan and Tri are going to do, because they have no room for error now. And so if Tri's healthy, they need to have a good showing on the 26th. If they don't win, then they need to have another good showing at the real AVP Huntington that second weekend of May, or they're just sentenced to the World Tour, which I know the Tri does not want to do. So it's going to be, pressure's on. for my boys, Evan and Try, and their coach, also my guy, Kyle Friend. But so these are high intensity events.